Welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast with your host, Chris Anderson. In this show, Chris and his guests will share their knowledge and experience on how to go from zero to successful entrepreneur. They have built their businesses from scratch and are now ready to give back to those who are just starting. Let's get ready to learn, grow, and elevate our businesses. And now, your host, Chris Anderson.
Welcome back to another recording of the Elevate Media Podcast. I'm Chris Anderson, your host. Today, I wanted to share a little bit about my journey. From podcasting, when I initially started back in 2019, and how it's led to, Elevate Media and the business success I've had so far in this journey. And then I want to end this episode with 5 key lessons I've learned on this journey. So you want to stick around to the very end to get those lessons that I've learned, and hopefully that they can help you, elevate your journey, elevate your brand as we go. So if you're ready and you're not driving, take out a pen and paper and let's get to it. Elevate Media Podcast. Where did it all begin? It actually started back in 2019, November 2019. So we're coming up on, 4 years of the podcast here soon if you're listening to this live. If not, well, it's past 4 years probably. But when I first started it, it wasn't Elevate Media Podcast. It was the Pencil Leadership Podcast. And it was the same setup, same format of interviewing guests, because I originally just wanted to learn from successful entrepreneurs so I could do something and build something as well. But then I could share it with those who tuned in and listened so they could get the benefit as well. And that's where it started. It started, and I was always doing video, but if you look back and listen back to those episodes, they are terrible. And I've mentioned this multiple times. They are really bad. I didn't know about lighting. I didn't know about equipment that well, depth, all this different pieces that I've learned along the way. So I'm surprised I had anyone listen for the longest time. And so they're still up and they're still there because I don't mind people seeing that, because we all start at zero. We all start not knowing anything. We all start at, our chapter 1, and that was mine. And so to be able to see that progression, transition through the years in such a short amount of time has been really a crazy thing, and to be able to get where I've done with it. But the podcast originally was just, again, like I said, for me to learn and then be able to share the same kind of things to the audience. And I kind of just dove into it. Like I said, I didn't know much about video or lighting or all the technical things. I used my computer webcam, was a cheap pair of kid headphones, and I think originally the mic on my computer. And then I got a cheap mic off Amazon shortly after I started, but it wasn't that good. When I first started, I'm one who fires and then aims later. I kind of just jump into the deep end and learn to swim. But before I had started the podcast, I really learned from Lewis Howes, the School of Greatness, who I really looked up to and what he had done with his podcast. And so I kind of learned from him different steps to take to launch. So that's why I use Buzzsprout. That's why I use StreamYard, because I heard it through him. And so Lewis was a really big part of this whole journey. And again, learning from him, like what systems to use, Buzzsprout, StreamYard. I think originally I started with Zoom because I was unsure, and I didn't learn that from him until a little bit later. But I just got started. And that's what a lot of people, that's where they get stuck, is they think they have to have it perfect. They think they have to have everything figured out, or all the pieces of equipment or everything in place before they start. And that stops so many people, and it hinders your ability to truly elevate and get to that next level in life. With business, with life, whatever it is, we get in our own way thinking we have to have it a certain way. So I just, kind of jumped into the deep end and said, I love Indiana Jones, and in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, someone asked Indy, what's the plan? He's like, I don't know, I'm making this up as I go. And that's kind of how I felt. I just kind of figured it out as I went along, and hope something stuck and something came out of it. But the podcast, it's been such a journey with learning the different tech skills, editing, the content creation, the topic development, the guests, the interviewing. Man, listening back some of my early ones, it was just so robotic and no flow to it and very stiff. Just this question, okay, this question, okay, this question, and just rolling through them. And just so much growth through the years. And that comes from learning from other people, for one. And so, yeah, the podcast then led into, the business itself. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I quit my job in 2020. All I knew is I had this podcast. I'm learning from these successful entrepreneurs. I'm going to figure something out. And the podcasting stuff just kind of came to me. People were like, hey, how did your podcast get in the top, 2% globally listened to? At the time when I started, I think the first milestone was top 10%. Now we're in the top 2%. But like, they're like, how'd you do that? How'd you launch? How'd you do this? What's the best platform? All these things. And, I needed the money. I needed the cash flow. And so I leaned into that and I used those things that I had learned to help other people, help them get their story out there, help them to get their knowledge out there to their audience. And I started seeing kind of the cool ripple effect that I could have by helping other people get their shows out there into the podcast universe. And eventually, the end of 2021, again, got myself out of the way and said, okay, I'm going to lean into this podcast service field. I'm going to start Elevate Media Group. We're going to help launch. We're going to help edit. We're going to do it for them so they can get their story out there, so they can elevate their lives, their businesses, and those that they're trying to impact, their audience. And we're just going to be in the background, helping these amazing people do amazing stuff. And that's when Elevate was born, and that's kind of when business started. And because of the podcast, that's what led me to that. Without the podcast, I don't know if I'd ever have started Elevate and gotten into, the video podcast service realm, and now the live video production world as well. So it was the stepping stone to get to where I am today. And then the podcast, I think, has helped me be more successful at business because it's opened up the doors for connections. 85% of our business comes from referrals from people who have either been guests and we built good relationships with, or from those clients that we've brought on that we've done great work for. They've referred people to us. That's where the most of our success comes from, and it comes from the podcast. And the majority of clients either have come as a guest or a guest of ours connected us with them. And so it's been a huge driver for the show. In specific instances where we've gotten business directly from a guest. They come on, you build rapport with them. You're going to put them on a pedestal in front of your audience, but then they get learn a little bit about you, see how you work, and see or hear more about what you do as you're building that relationship before you record. And it's directly caused us to have business. Indirectly, it's benefited Elevate and myself through people seeing the show and asking me to speak at events, speak at colleges, speak at different conferences. And so that's an indirect benefit, but it's a benefit no less because, again, anytime I get to share, I love being able to share my story because it points back to, again, that it's all greater than myself, because my face is big and, how God has been on my journey. So it's been able to be able to be a reflection to that, which is huge for me. And then indirectly it has benefited, I've become a better speaker. I've become a better interviewer. I've become better at listening. I'm not perfect, obviously. If you're listening to the episode, you can understand I'm not perfect, but it's helped me to grow as a person. I've seen who I am more and, see myself in a different way, which is good. And I've built more confidence. I've been able to, connect with a lot of cool people. And so there's been a lot of benefits from it. And as the podcast has been growing and then started to, trickle over into business, and business starts to grow, even though, there's always ups and downs in businesses, but
You love listening to podcasts, but have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Maybe you want to build a brand, grow your business, or are looking for an excuse to talk about your favorite hobby. Whatever your reason for making a podcast, Buzzsprout is the place to start. Since 2009, Buzzsprout has helped over 300,000 people launch their own podcasts. Buzzsprout walks you step by step through the whole process and will give you powerful tools to start, grow, and monetize your podcast. Ready to get started? Click the link in the show notes to get our free step-by-step guide to starting your podcast today.
Moments that I've realized through this journey that, okay, this is working. This is going to work. You just got to stick with it. Moments where people reach out to me, to have me speak to things, to have me be a guest on their show. They're reaching out, wanting my story and expertise, which is, this is crazy. It's humbling for people to do that and reach out. The moment where, I started to be able to make money from the podcast directly through, which I didn't mention earlier, but directly through payments when people pitch to be guests. We do have a fee for those individuals, and that's only because it goes towards our team for marketing purposes, and because of what we've built. They're going to get a lot of free publicity. Minus that, it's a super small fee. It's nothing really. We just had to eventually. The biggest reason is to weed out some people who weren't as serious or weren't necessarily a good fit for the show, because you get pitched a lot eventually as you're growing. I get multiple emails a day of people wanting to be on the show, and I just can't facilitate all of those. And so we had to have a way to weed out some, or lessen those applications for the show, and that's one way we did it. So, a lot of times it brings on higher quality guests who are willing to invest in their story and their message getting out to more people, so they understand the benefit as well. So that's another reason we did it. But yeah, those moments were like, okay, this machine is going to continue to grow if we continue to nurture and provide value to those out in the community. And so it's been a fun journey so far. And so now I want to break down, 5 lessons that I've learned so far on my journey. And hopefully you can take some of these away and implement them or learn something from them as well. But the first lesson is the power of networking and relationships. This is critical because it's not necessarily all about what you know, but who you know. And you never know who you're going to meet. And so always coming, to a new relationship or new connection transparently and as your real self will be so much better, because you're going to be able to continue that on, and those who are going to resonate with you are going to stick around, and those who aren't, and that's okay. But the ones that stick around, the ones that are good relationships are those that should be nurtured, because you never know how you can help somebody else and how they can help you and what difference you can make together by building these relationships. And you don't know where business is going to come from. You don't know where opportunities are going to come from. So you can't just assume from looking on the outside of a person that what's going to come from that. So, building those relationships, giving as much as you can before you ever ask for anything is a crucial piece. And just being willing and open to share and, help and add value again is crucial. And that's the first lesson, is just really diving into networking and building relationships with new people in the areas and the levels you're trying to get to, and just adding value how you can. The second lesson is just being consistent. That is something, I've heard Alex Hormozy say so much, is you got to play the long game. If you can stick with something longer than everyone else, you're going to succeed, because you're going to get better. If you're doing it right, you're going to get better. You're going to innovate. You're going to, tweak things, and you're just going to last, and you're going to eventually get there because you're going to be the best. And that's true in the long sense of things in business, but it's also true in the here and now. Are you consistently getting a message out? Are you consistently connecting with new people? Are you consistently showing what you can do through your business? And doing that on a consistent schedule allows people to build trust with you. It allows people to know that you're going to be there and you're going to show up and you're going to provide value which again goes back to that know, like, and trust factor. It's going to just amplify that. And it takes time, and that's the thing. If you can be consistent with it, you're going to build different muscles. You're going to build a thicker skin. You're going to be able to build a better, mental fortitude to stick with things when they get rough, because they will, and they're going to be ups and downs. But if you can just, no, I'm going to be consistent no matter what, either win or learn, right? There's no lose really. Then, that's going to take you a lot farther and get you to new levels a lot faster if you can just be consistent. And that's why I love podcasting, because it helps you get on that consistent schedule, which then helps you get out more content more consistently and show up more consistently and improve more consistently. And that's why I always push people doing video podcasts for their brands, because it makes you be consistent, or it's just not going to work. So that was the second lesson. And then lesson 3 is being adaptable and being able to change. So it's like that Friends episode, pivot. You've got to be able to pivot. You've got to be able to take challenges and obstacles head on, because they're going to come. It's going to come in podcasting. It's going to come in business, and it's going to come in life, because life's not fair. Business isn't fair. There are hard times. There are unforeseen things that happen, and you have to be able to pivot and change quickly sometimes to overcome those obstacles. You've got to have that thick skin, and you've got to have that mental fortitude, like I mentioned earlier, about that you get from being consistent. So, there have been times where, again, we started out as pencil leadership, and that was my whole thought process behind that. That all had to change and adapt, because what I was trying to do there just didn't align. It didn't fit. And then I was able to change and adapt into what my strength was in, which was the podcast itself and in that field. And so getting myself out of the way and being able to change and adapt was a challenge in itself. And then making money and growing a business and all that comes with business. There's so many challenges that you have to face. Figuring it all out, wearing all the hats at first until you can bring people on. Those are all challenges you have to, adapt to. Your schedule, your routines. And then when you have kids and you throw kids in the mix, or even a wife, girlfriend, whatever it is, significant other, that all takes adaptation and changes in your lifestyle, in your schedule to, continue to grow with that. And then, of course, the trends in podcasting and business. Who would have thought we had ChatGPT this year come out? Was it even this year? I don't know. We had ChatGPT come out. And that was something huge that now, that and AI itself, things that we have to adapt to in business and in podcasting, things that can make things easier, but if we rely on them too much, could cause some issues. So you've got to be able to adapt to these trends and changes and be involved in those. So that's the third lesson that I've learned along the way, is just being able to, pivot and shift when things are needed to. And then the fourth lesson I learned, and I learned this fairly quickly, is repurposing your content across different channels for different purposes. That's why I love video podcasting, because you can record one episode and you can repurpose it across every channel on any format you want, from a blog post, a static post, just a quote. Of course, your micro video content like your Reels and TikToks that are huge. You can take part of it out as an ad to push. You can use it for marketing. So there's so many purposes. And it's so crucial to get all the miles you can out of everything you create, especially when you're bootstrapping from the beginning and it's just you. You've got to be able to do that. And you got to be, omnipresent as best you can. Obviously, you want to pick a couple of platforms at the beginning and get really good, but you eventually got to expand. You've got to be there. You've got to show up. You got to be seen, because if they don't know you, then you're not going to grow. And so to do that, you've got to be out there and seen on the platforms that they're on. And so being able to repurpose content is crucial. And that's one big lesson I learned early on. And then lesson 5 is always be learning and always be improving. And that's something I truly enjoy. And that's one reason I started the podcast, right? Because I wanted to continue to learn from successful people and be able to improve my life, my show, my business. And that's why I have so many books. I have over 800 books in my home library. I haven't read them all, but I have access to learn from any topic from anybody out there who's written a book. Like, we have access to that. We have YouTube channels where we can go and learn, at any moment we want. We have podcasts that we can go listen to and learn at any moment we want. And so being dedicated to learn and improve is a huge lesson, because we can always get better. And we can always learn a new skill, no matter who it's from. I could talk to a 5-year-old, and my mindset is they could teach me something. Maybe not through what they say, but how they, approach a situation. So we can learn from anyone. And I think if we can keep our mindset from in that, position, I think it'll really do us a lot of justice. And I'm always open and looking for feedback from people. I know I'm not perfect. I know the show's not perfect. I know we can improve greatly. I know I can do better on episodes. And so I'm always asking people, like, you're listening, what do you think we can do better? What do you want to hear more? Because I'm not above, improving what we're doing. And I want to hear what people have to say. And, I can put that ego away and pride away enough to listen. And I'm not perfect at it, of course. Sometimes I'm like, oh no, I thought that was good. But, taking a second look at it, like, okay, I see what they're saying. I could do that a little bit better. So if you can put yourself in a position to continually learn and improve, you're going to take steps a lot faster than other people who aren't willing to say, I'm not the best, or I'm not as good in this area. I can learn and improve there. And it's seeking that from mentors, from all the resources we have. So that's lesson 5, is being able to always learn and improve, for sure. We've been truly blessed on this journey, learning all these lessons. And like I said, the podcast is top 2% globally listened to. We've been charted, on different charts globally in the top 25 in market or business, in marketing or business. It's opened up the doors to a lot of cool relationships. It's helped my business grow. It's allowed me now to be speaking on stages, in classrooms. It's, I've been able to interview over 200 amazing, successful people with great stories to share who are trying to make a difference in the world. Like, that proximity there is just fantastic and amazing. And, being able to be on other people's show and share my story and hopefully inspire someone to elevate their life and their brand just from that has been phenomenal. I've been able to, build a business that supports me and my family, where I'm able to work from home, see my kids grow up, and, build something that now can support other people as we're continuing to grow, that we're able to now share people's stories through what we create so they can reach more people. And it's just been an amazing journey that I'm super blessed to be on, to be a part of, and to have you listening out there. I thank you for that. So I don't tell you all that to brag and, make myself look good or anything like that, because it's all because of you guys out there listening and supporting and, giving me feedback. But I also wanted to say all that to show you that it's possible for you, because I was nothing special, a kid from the middle of cornfields in Indiana. You can do something like this too. You just have to, go learn those lessons like I did, stay consistent, just start and not give up. And you too can do some amazing things, elevate your life and elevate your brands. So I'm looking forward to, many more episodes to come. This is episode 300 that I put out there. And we're not going to stop anytime soon. Looking forward to the next 300. Get into episode 1,000 one day, which is crazy to think about, to say even. And just continue to grow business. We reach the point where we're an annual 6-figure business. Definitely looking to get that to multiple 6 figures. Just because, in our economy now, to be transparent, like, 6 figures is great, but as a business, it's not much. Like, it's a success. I'm super grateful for it. But with everything else that comes from it, like things you have to pay for, when you bring on a team, because obviously I can't do this myself, like, it is what it is. So, like, getting it to the next level so I can continue to support, so I can continue to do great things and help more people. That's the goal, like, not to stop and just continue to grow it, where we can just continue to elevate brands and lives out there. The podcast, again, just continue to talk to great guests so we can help those listening. And so stay tuned for upcoming episodes. If you're not subscribed to the show yet, go do that and leave me a review and a rating. Let me know what you truly think so I can improve and get better. And I appreciate everyone listening out there. So I just want to kind of highlight my journey a little bit with the podcast and business. Some things I've learned, some things I've been through. And again, truly am looking for feedback. So shoot me a message on Instagram at chris.t.anderson. I still take those messages, and I'd love to hear from you. Any feedback you have, or maybe episodes you want to hear about, let me know. Don't be shy. And again, share this with someone who might be on their journey, who might be struggling, who might be getting a little irritated with how things are going. Let them know that it's part of the journey and that they can make it, because we can help more people if we share this out together. So that's it for this episode. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. But until next time, go out there, elevate your life, elevate your business, elevate your brand, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Elevate Media Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. See you in the next episode.